Thank you so much. I'm very excited to bring back to the stage the director of the film, Kantemir Balagov. And we also have translator, Sasha Corbett, to help. Long credits.
Yeah, sorry for the long credits.
Well, we're not translators. So. I have a few questions for you, and then we can open it up to the audience. I was curious about, I mean, it's a very big Russian story. It's set in the Second World War in Leningrad, and it deals with post-traumatic stress disorder and the trauma of the war, but really mostly strongly on the female point of view, which is pretty rare. Because we've seen several films where it's like soldiers coming back from the war and dealing with trauma, but we don't think that much about the woman experiencing the war. So one was a fighter and one was on at home, like one is on the front, one coming back. So can you talk about your interest about talking about really a stronger female point of view dealing with the war and the stress dealing with that?
It came to me from the book, Svan Alexievich's book on Women, the Face of War. So I always said that I knew nothing about the war, and this book showed me how huge was the sacrifice that females made. So I was obsessed by this book. It's like a book full of interviews of females who fought at the Second World War. And yeah, I just got obsessed with this idea, and in 2015, after I finished this book, I knew that I want to make a film about it, because in modern Russian cinema, no one has shown the female side of the war. In Soviet cinema, only Orisa Shepitika's film Wings, just showing how the female struggle after the war. So I just feel comfortable with the woman as a human being. For me, it's my first one, and the second one is about female stories, and I'm really interested to discover, with the help of my characters, myself, my female side. And yeah, I think I answered your question, right?
Yes, you did.
Thank you.
I mean, there's also kind of two points of view, because one is fighting in the front and one is in the back. So it's pretty interesting to see the contrast, and then the contrast with the male point of view, which is kind of in the background. I think in terms of Russian cinema, like we've seen movies dealing with the war, but the female it's a love story only, and the relationship with the male, which here it goes further, and I thought it was a very deeply moving to see it this way. So, it was great that you could make this into a film.
But I think we should grade Svan Alexievich, because she made an amazing job with this book. So I really want to share my experience with the persons who the same age as me, because I think I'm not the only one who knew nothing.
It's a famous saying, all I know is I know nothing. There's something pretty interesting in the way you introduce the character, because it comes slowly, and we learn slowly who they are, what their relationship are, and what they're doing. And it's pretty discomforting and destabilizing to see the path you're taking with this. So I wanted to know if you could talk about your intention in doing this, because I think it makes the audience very captivated in learning and trying to figure it out. And I assume it was your intention, but I would like to know if you could talk a little bit about
You mean the
structure.
slow pace of the film and rhythm of the film?
It's like the rhythm of the film, and also the way you introduce each character and their relationship with each other.
Well, the slow pace, the film has this pace because the people were so exhausted, And when we were making when we made the rehearsals with the actresses, we tried to find the specific language, specific body language, specific intonation, because as I said, the people were exhausted and they said differently. The silence between words was different, and we tried to find it. And I don't know. It just depends from the scene, the rhythm, the mise en scène, because from the beginning, the scene when Masha returns from the war, it was edited with the cuts. But after we made a pre-shoot and I edited the pre-shoot and I understood that I don't have a right to interrupt her feelings with this editing cuts because in this scene she understands that the boy, the child is dead, and it's really important that sorry, I'll switch in Russian because my English is not so good enough. Это очень важно, чтобы зритель вместе с Машей пришел к этому пониманию.
And it's very important that the audience would come to be compassionate to Masha at this moment of the film.
And that's why this scene is one long take, one long shot. So as I said, it depends from the scene.
Both actresses are really amazing. So, can you talk about finding them? Did you know them when you were writing the film, or did you find them both at the same time? And did you know the chemistry that would work with both of them together?
It was a surprising experience because they both came on the first day of the casting. So from the first day, I knew that I have my main characters.
The first day they both
Yeah,
came?
yeah, yeah.
But they're new actresses, right?
Yeah, they were studying at the acting school when we were shooting. So yeah, this is their first feature film for them. We made some rehearsals. To be honest, I tried to мы делали репетиции, и я репетировал с разными актерами, я искал разные тандемы.
Yeah, we were rehearsing, and during the rehearsals, we tried different actors for those scenes.
Но именно химия, которая нужна была, химия персонажей, которую я искал, была только между Василисой и Викторией, исполнительницей.
But the specific chemistry that I was looking for in characters was exactly between those two actresses.
И, собственно, после утверждения главных героинь мы перевезли их в Петербург и вместе с ними снимали пришут, репетировали, читали книги, смотрели фильмы.
And after we approved the actresses, we transferred them to St. Petersburg, and we started the process working on the film, reading books, and learning the material.
So, would you have changed the name of the film if you didn't get Victoria, who's the giraffe? I mean, she's called the giraffe in French.
No.
It would have changed everything.
No, because it's not about high Beanpole. In Russian, it means clumsiness in some way. So, not only Iya is Beanpole. Each character in the film is Beanpole because they feel clumsy, and the way they're trying to start a normal life after the war, this is a clumsy way. So a moral is clumsy too.
Well, I mean, it's called A Tall Girl also in French, and I think the translation from the title is missed in
That's the difficulty of the
Yes.
translation, yeah.
I was like, well, but then if you don't get a tall actress, it doesn't really work.
Yeah.
But the clumsiness, I see what you mean, but in terms of acting, they're extremely precise in what they're doing. And I think they do bring all the trauma and the difficulty of building something new in this time, and they're just really both wonderful.
Thank you.
Yeah. do have one final question for you. I mean, I have many more questions, but I'm sure people want to talk too. It's maybe about the cinematography, because I believe you also worked as a DP in some...
She's an amazing,
yeah.
amazing DP. She was 24 while we were shooting this film. She had she shot some 2 or 3 films before the Beanpole. And yeah, she has so unique vision, and I just could relax on the set and just, Ksenia, we need to make this one and this. I just find my soulmate, so I'm happy to have her on the Beanpole, and I hope we will continue.
But did you give her specific instruction in terms of the color palette
Yeah,
you
we
were
tried.
looking
Yeah.
for?
From the beginning, the film should be black and white, but after I made some researches in personal diaries, I found that I should bring colors in this film for many reasons, and we tried to find our colors. We watched a lot of paintings, Dutch paintings, and Vermeer, and because with my first film I was inspired by photo documentary, like Magnum Photo Agency, and with my second one I wanted to work with the painting, artist painting. So yeah, we just wanted our film to look a little bit unique, because of the war film, and there's a lot of war films in Russia and the Soviet Union, so we wanted to look a little bit unique.
I think it's quite unique.
Thank you.
I was wondering if there's a question in the audience. We do have microphones, so. There's a question here, and the microphone will come from behind you. Right there.
So while we're on the topic of color, I noticed that there was a lot of use of green and red. They were painting the wall green, their costumes changed, obviously the hair color. Could you speak a little bit more about the use of that and the switching of the clothing? They kind of switched there as well.
There's 2 main colors. Yeah, red and ochre color is color of rust and color of trauma. That's why Masha has red hair and her son has red hair, because she has a physical trauma, mental trauma. So yeah, and that's why Iya in the end of the film wears a red sweater. Sweater.
Cardigan, yeah, sweater.
Yes, because Masha just brings her trauma in Iya, and the green color for me is like the color of hope and ability to give life, to give birth to someone. So, yeah, as you mentioned, there's a dynamic, there's a stagnation. It depends from the scene and depends what I wanted to say, because I try to use colors when I don't have to say something. I want to feel something. It's really important.
There's a question here, right? Yes.
I love the movie. I was wondering if you could say a little bit about the end of the movie where they go to dinner at the or lunch at the boyfriend's parents' house. Yeah, and I thought it was just a fascinating scene, but it was just very strange, and I just wondered. I felt like there must be some further explication and background to that, to the way you played that interaction.
Говорит, что сцена была, мне показалась она странная в том случае, что я думал, что будет больше объяснения, будет больше информации вложено в последнюю сцену. Можешь ли ты поговорить именно об этой сцене?
Мне почему-то казалось, что там довольно-таки достаточно объяснений. То есть, по крайней мере, бэкграунд. Дело вот в чем. Я хотел этой сценой... Эта сцена — это квинтэссенция того, что есть в книге Алексеевич, как раз-таки отношение к женщинам с фронта и с чем женщины сталкивались.
Yeah, so actually, I think I've explained pretty well in the scene and the scene at the dinner. But the scene is quintessential, and it refers us to the Svetlana Alexeyevich book, where we can see how women been treated during that time.
Но мы со сценаристом пытались создать некую двойственность в этой сцене. Мы хотели, чтобы у зрителя было сложилось впечатление непонимания, говорит ли Маша правду, либо просто издевается над
But at the same time, we tried to create some sort of a duality in this scene, especially when it comes to Masha and she talks, she gives her monologue, her speech. We didn't want you to quite understand whether she's serious about it or she speaks with sarcasm.
And?
Как она говорит, все-таки она издевается или она серьезна?
Oh, you want me to tell if she's trolling her or telling the truth? That's a secret.
We will get more about that soon.
Okay.
Okay, there's more questions. So I see someone here, right? Yes, correct? No? Oh, well.
Thank you. I loved the movie, but I was wondering what the reason was for the murder of the little boy.
Почему? В чем была причина убийства?
It was a PTSD. She just froze it. It wasn't. It wasn't intentional. Yeah, it wasn't intentional. She just froze.
There's a question there.
Yeah, I have a question about the treatment of the female body in the film, because we see in the bathing house, it's a very surprising scene in that it can very easily go very voyeuristic, but I think the way you treat it seems very vulnerable, and also when the women were having sex, they never actually go stark naked. So I was just wondering, what are your reasons for displaying the female bodies in that sense?
Да, я хочу поговорить про отношение женского тела в том фильме, например, в сцене, когда они в бане, мы видим полностью их обнаженными, мы становимся воерами, наблюдателями. А, например, в сцене насилия, они наоборот, они остаются полностью все в одежде и не снимаются. То есть расскажи свое отношение к женскому телу и как оно в фильме.
Ну, я думаю, что это в целом зависит от того, как снимается сцена, то есть от, как же сказать-то, от того, какая общность у кадра, какая крупность у кадра.
I think it all depends on the width and the large of the screen when we're talking about the scenes.
И то, что я просто чуть-чуть не понимаю суть вопроса, мое отношение к женскому телу.
So I quite don't understand the question, my relationship towards the female body. What exactly were you trying to ask?
I guess I was just wondering, because I think the question of, desire and then the body's relation, I'm sorry, I think it's a bit complicated. I'll think about it.
Я думаю, это очень сложно, но я думал, я хотела задать вопрос про, наверное, про желание и влечение к телу. А потом он говорит, я извиняюсь за вопрос.
Просто в сцене я попробую все-таки ответить, как я понял.
I will try to answer that question.
Просто в сцене зачатия ребенка там нет никакого желания. Это реакция на шантаж, и это больше какой-то спасительный акт, а не акт желания.
Yeah, so it's, for example, in the scene when they're trying to conceive the child, there's no such a thing as a desire. It's more as the act to save someone when someone is blackmailing.
Но когда, например, я снимаю тела и раненые тела, женские, мужские, я, если честно, пытаюсь не разделять их гендерно, я пытаюсь посмотреть на них с точки зрения тела как человеческого тела.
But when I'm shooting any type of body, whether it's a male body or female body, I don't try to make an accent on their gender rather than on their humanity.
I do have another question because we're talking about a lot of things in the film, but the sound design also is extremely precise and very important in the film, from the introduction of the characters all the way through the film. So can you talk a little bit about your work on the sound design, and your ideas into making it so specific?
Фильм начинается именно так, потому что, ну, понятное дело, что, во-первых, мы хотели задать сразу болезнь главной героини, потому что я понимал, что второе ее зависание будет на ключевой моменте, и это зависание должно было быть запоминающимся.
Well, we specifically used a certain sound design, especially when we were talking about the first scene. I wanted to indicate that the main character has a PTSD, because when we come to the second scene, when the murder of a child happens, the audience needs to understand what's going on, what's happening.
Но вот это ее странное звучание и физика — это некая аллегория на то, на попытку создать... Это аллегория на то, что после войны мир создается все время заново, с нуля. И это такая... Каждый ее новый звук — это как сброс на ноль, сброс на ноль. Она пытается начать заново и все время сбрасывается на ноль. То есть это такое...
So, and that weird sound that we perceive at the beginning of the film, it's sort of an allegory of that everything you need to start from the beginning after the war. And so all those technical sounds, it's like a main character trying to going back to zero and trying to start again.
And the same works with the scene with the dress.
When she's circling around.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Is there more questions? There's a question in the back. Whoever gets a microphone first, run for it.
There are two at the same time.
Oh, whoop, two at the same time.
Hello, thank you very much for the film. I very much enjoyed it. I have the following question. In terms of the relationship between the two main characters, how have you described it to the actresses, what you want them to portray?
Я понял. Я понял. I heard this question a lot, so I have an answer. I would describe it as one human being is another human being. That's really important to understand, because when we trying to describe the motivation by gender, I think we're a little bit we limited it, right? Yeah, limited it. So simplifying. So yeah, for me, on the first place was human relationships.
There was the other question there.
Thank you. First of all, I would like to thank you for the film. I enjoyed it very much.
Thank you.
The city which you were portraying in the film is the city where I was born, St. Petersburg. And I have never seen St. Petersburg, the post-World War St. Petersburg, in such bright colors, and it was something quite unique.
Thank you.
And the question I would like to ask you is the ending of the movie, when the two characters say, we will have a baby and it will heal us. I had a feeling that there was a little bit more to this ending than just words. I felt that there was some metaphor, and I was wondering if this metaphor was intentional or it was just my imagination. I'll also ask this question in Russian. Я просто хотел спросить, финал фильма, когда две героини, когда героиня говорит, у нас будет ребенок, и он нас вылечит, была ли это задумка режиссерская ваша, или может быть, мне так показалось?
Allow me to not answer this question, because it's really important for me, and I always said that thing. Freedom from the meaning allows you to create your own meaning. You know what I mean? You can understand the film differently because of your own experience, and I think that each understanding of the film, for example, your understanding of the film will be much more richful than mine. So I don't want to destroy that emotional impact. Thank you.
We're going to run out of time, but I wanted to know if you were working on something else, because you made two pretty heavy movie dealing with, I guess, the war and different different type of wars, but in Russian history. And if you were working on something else, and if you had more wars to explore.
I'm trying. I'm trying. Yeah, I only know that I want to make my third one about my homeland, North Caucasus, in Nalchik, and it will be modern story about nowadays, because I'm a little bit tired of from the past, and I think it will be a male story now. So
and
we'll
a
see.
comedy.
I will try. I will try my best.
Well, the movie is really beautiful, and
Thank you.
I'm really glad we could have you here tonight. Thanks again for being here. Thanks to Kino for buying the film, which is going to open in the US, I think in January.
In January 2020.
Yes. And I hope you'll be back with a comedy or a drama or a story.
I hope to. Thank you so much.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you so much.
Thank you, everyone.